For body weight squats, there are two very important details here. So number one is how wide your feet are going to be, and that's going to be dependent upon you and how your body is built and what feels comfortable to you. So if you're kind of way in here, like your feet are relatively close together, if I'm just standing here, right, that's perfectly normal for my feet to be that way. Well, I'm probably going to want to widen my feet out a little bit just because I know that's going to be more comfortable for me. If you're way in here and trying to squat down, like sure you can do it, but that's not necessarily ideal. It's like maybe your hips will start to get a little uncomfortable. I'm gonna have to bend over pretty far to do that. So if I do that from the side, right, kind of sticking my butt out pretty far and I'm having to bend over pretty far to make that feel more comfortable. So for me, I'm gonna take a little step out to the sides. My feet are wider than my shoulders. That way, if my knees are tracking where my toes are, I can get my legs a little bit wider and get my hips out of the way. And that's just going to feel a little bit more comfortable for me. So play around with that. See where your feet feel comfortable. The closer you are, the more your toes are going to point forward. The wider you start to go, the more your toes are going to start to point out to the sides. And that's perfectly normal because that's coming from our hips. Our hips want to externally rotate or point to the side the wider our feet go. So see what feels good to you. The second thing is going to be your squat depth. So if I have you programmed body weight squats and you're doing this number, doing little quarter squats, I can do this all day long. I'm so glad these are here. You are not getting the most bang for your buck out of this. So I want you to, again, find whatever foot position feels good to you. So that way you can keep your balance the whole way down. And your hip should be almost parallel with your knee. If anything, your hip and your butt should be a little bit lower than your knee here. So that way, every single time you're doing a squat, you're making your glutes work hard, you're making your quads work hard, and we're getting the most bang for your buck there. So that way, each repetition, you're recruiting the most muscle fibers, you're getting in and out of a pretty big range of motion with your joints, working on joint health, working on strength, working on balance a little bit if you feel a little off kilter doing these because you're not comfortable squatting. So those are the two things I want you to think about. Find a foot position where you feel balanced. And then also your squat depth. So make sure that your hip and your knees are parallel or your hips are a little bit lower than your knees. So that way we're recruiting the most muscle fibers, getting the most bang for your buck out of that exercise.